Alright, this is how I did my onboard shower or hot water system with storage. Got one of these, it's a 10 plate heat exchanger. You can see that's the website I bought this one from, but they sell these on Amazon as well, I think for around the same price. There's only 10 plates, I guess. It was plenty enough on this. I can explain a little further on how to get this to work, like if you needed like a lot more heat, whereas a lot of people think they need like a 10, 15, or 30 plate or something like that to get the heat they need. So the way this works is it basically there's, I guess, like channels in there, different plates that don't connect together. There's two sets of plates. There's a set of plates just for the in this case the coolant side, and then another set of plates that are like sandwiched in between them or near them, for the fresh water. So what I did was, on my Tundra, there is normally, let's see here, that hose right there normally runs and goes right into the heater core, the factory heater core. There's two hoses right here, and normally one of them goes to there. And what I did was basically spliced or teed into it. So now the coolant, before it goes to the heater core in the cab that heats up the air, it runs through my heat exchanger first, and it comes back out and it runs back in. So it robs some of the heat. I have not noticed a difference when I run this. The heat wise inside is less, but what it does is rob some of the heat and runs it through here. And when I turn the pump on, it runs the water through it and it heats the water up. And here's the pump I have here. There's a strainer as well, and it pumps the water in and pumps it into the heat exchanger, and it comes back out hot or warm. So how this is initially, it's gonna get complicated as I get to the back, but essentially all I did was take a line and feed it. There's two lines, obviously. There's two lines you can see right here. All I did was take the two lines and ran them straight to the very back. There's an in and out, so it pulls water in from one side and it comes back out hot after it goes through the system. Now, so what I did was, like I said, I had two lines that ran straight to the very back. And at the very back, actually, if I go there, the very back, there's the two right there. It runs straight out to here. These are hydraulic fittings, and you can see they're always closed. So what that means is when there's nothing plugged into them, it means it's closed. Same thing with the other side. They're closed units. And then the other side that plugs into them, you can see they're always closed on this side as well. What that does is allows the system to be sealed. So what I do is, the initial setup I had before I got the tank added was, this is the end right here. You can see the hose. And what I would do is take this, and I have my water here, and I would just stick it in there. And once I turn it on, it'll pull water in, and it runs through the heat exchanger, and it'll come back out on this side hot. And then you just plug this in. You see it's plugged in, and now it can feed the water back out here. I want to replace these hoses, at least this one, with something a little softer. It's really rigid. I want something a little softer because it's such a pain to move around, and it's got a lot of weight to it. But now I can pump water in and it'll come out. I have a low flow shower head here, and it has an on and off right here, and there's also, I did like another on and off here because when I had the system running, I want to turn off the water. It still dripped a little bit, so I added a second one to really like cut it off. That way it builds up pressure. It's an on-demand pump, so it's supposed to turn off once it builds up enough pressure. So that's how I initially had this thing set up, like this. Now, the beauty of this setup is, anyone that comes to camp with me, I just tell them bring water and they can take a hot shower, because they just bring their water over here and I just run the hose into their pump or into their tank. I can heat up their water for them, and then they can take a hot shower using their water. I didn't, now I added a 10-gallon tank. This is essentially unused space here, And the idea was I didn't like to get to camp and then warm up my water. So basically all I did was cycle the water. So that's how I get away with the 10 plate heat exchanger. Is basically you run water through it, pump your water and it pumps back out. All you did was pump that water. Instead of using the water, you just pump it back into the tank, or in my case, those 5-gallon water jugs, you pump it back into here and you cycle the water. As you're cycling the water, it's going to get hotter and hotter. Even one cycle, the water comes up pretty hot or pretty warm. So if I just cycle it over and over, I can preheat a tank of water. So when I get to camp, obviously I leave the truck idling, run the water through, and I'll preheat a tank. I wanted to be able to preheat the tank in here as I get to camp. So the way it works would be, let me unplug everything. I got everything unplugged back here, right? As if I'm driving to camp, I would just have everything unplugged. Is this tank here, and all I do is turn the pump on. And what that does is it pulls water from the bottom here, runs it through the pump and through the heat exchanger, and it comes back over here, and essentially it's just cycling. So about 10-15 minutes before camp, 20 minutes or so, I'll just turn the pump on, and all it does is just try to pre-warm this tank. Since it's also in the cab, it stays warm for actually a long time. So this allowed me to keep the tank, basically I preheat the tank. So once I get to camp, I have already ready to go hot water, probably warm water. And how this is all set up, I'll show you underneath. So now we're in the vehicle. These two lines obviously run straight to the front. Like I said, one ran water in and then the other one returned the water back out. And right here, it's teed in. So like I said before, all it was just two lines that ran all the way to the back. And that's how I initially set it up. And once I added the tank, I had to figure out how to have it all tied in. So all I did was tee it in. So one side's teed in, this one's teed in, and the other one's teed in as well. You can see they're just T fittings, and they run to my tank. So all I did was created, like I said, one was an N to pump in. So normally it takes water from the water jug, tee it in, this goes straight up to my water tank. So if I open up the valve up there, it allows, and plus once I open up the valves, these lines back here that you seen earlier, those connections are always closed. So I didn't have to add any valves down here to turn anything off because it's already closed. I'm not going to be able to pull water from the back if I don't have anything hooked up. So it forces the pump to pull water from the tank that's sitting above this, and it'll pump it up to the front, and now it's going to return it. It pumps up to the front, it needs a return, right? If I pull from the tank and it needs a return, it needs to either go out the back where I have my shower head set up. If I don't have a shower head set up, it can't go nowhere. So that's where the other line comes in. So the other line goes back to my tank above me, and it allows it to cycle water in and then back out to the tank. And that's how it's able to cycle and pre-warm the tank. So over here is where it pumps into it, and this is where it pulls water into the pump. This is what feeds to the pump, and it returns here. Now, once I'm at camp and I need to take a shower, I don't want the water returning back to the tank. I need it to, come out the back. So all I did was close that valve there. It forces the pump to push. It can't push water into here anymore. It forces it to go out the back as long as I have a hose hooked up. Otherwise, it's a closed system. It's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to turn off the pump. And the reason for the other valve down here is if I close both of them like so, now it cuts this off, isolates it, and it keeps it straight to just the back. So it would have to pull water in from the back and pump it right back out the back as well, and disconnects the tank from it. The other hose up here is just a breather right here, because there's going to be a difference of air and water as you're using it. So I need a breather. I do want something a little different, at least a cap or a one-way valve or something there. I'm not sure what I need, but every once in a while I'm on trails and this thing's sloshing around, it will push water out the top for whatever reason. The other thing for these valves is, so this is, like I said, this is where it's pulling water in and coming back here. Now if I leave this one closed like so, and I turn this one on like so, it's gonna want to pull, it needs to pull water. It's trying to pump water from here, but it's closed. So what I do is come to the back. It's just this hose right here, 1/2 inch. Everything is all 1/2 inch. The hoses underneath are all 1/2 inch. So I do is just connect this like so. Now, get this hose out of the way. Now it's gonna want to pull, it needs to pull water in from somewhere. So I just, 1/2 inch happens to fit this perfectly. So I just shove this, it's gonna pull it in and run it through the heat exchanger. So if I turn this on like so, you can hear the pump pulling water in. You can see right there, it's being pulled in. Pump's pulling water in from the very back, pumping it through the heat exchanger, and it's trying to pump it back out. Normally it would pump out to the back, but since it's closed back there and it's not hooked up to any hoses, it's forcing it to pump in here. You can see there's the water level right there, and it's basically, that's how I fill up my tank. If I want, the other way I can fill it up is just pour it in through the breather and try to fill it up that way, but you know, that just seems more work. So water, or fill the tank here. So now let's just say it's filled up and I, you know, get to camp. I have my valves both open. I do my cycling, preheat the water. Now, how do I use this tank when I get to camp to either, you know, to have warm water, to take showers, whatever it may be? All I do is close the return, because this is where it pumps the water back to the tank. I need it to exit out the back. I open this one up to allow it to pull water from here. The pump is currently on right now, it's pressurized, and all I have to do is go to the back and hook up the outlet one, which right now is all that's hooked up is the shower head. You can see right there, this one's normally just a fill, or if I want to just use this as my standalone water. So it's connected right now and the pump's turned on, and I just need to, let's see, which one is it? There's the pressurized water right there. It's a low flow shower head, so it's not a lot. There's still air in the system right now. I think there's always going to be air in the system. It used to be pretty airtight, but after building the system for a while, it's got to a point where somehow it's pulling air in from somewhere, but I don't have any visual leaks anywhere. But so you can hear it turn on. The front, you can hear the pump just turned off. So once it pressurizes, the system it's a on-demand pump. So once it hits a certain pressure, it will turn itself off. So as I use the pump, I get to camp, I can control, or you know, it's not constantly running and making all kinds of noise. All right, so to go over the main components that I used, you can obviously use different ones, different sizes. This is the 10 plate heat exchanger. I have another set that's going in my Sequoia. This uses barb fittings. They're all set for 1/2 inch. That's what this pump, this is the same pump that's in my Tundra, calls for. It calls for 1/2 inch hoses. You can probably get away with less. I don't know if it's going to strain the pump more, but it's not like we're continuously using this thing. So you can buy this heat exchanger with different fittings. They have ones where you can screw in like quick disconnects, screw in your own barb fitting. I just bought the one that already came with the barb fittings because I knew I was going to use this anyways. It was less components, I guess, I had to buy, and it's just a matter of buying the hoses. Like I said, it's a 10 plate. You can see there's the model number right there, B31210, and it's made by Doodad Diesel. I guess they use these for what do they call them, brewing beer, I guess. It's like that's how they cool the beer, I guess, when they however you make beer. And this is the pump I decided to use. It's a SureFlow, I guess made by Pentair. And there's the model number right there, 4008-101A65. It is, let's see here, it's 3 gallons per minute, so this flow is quite a lot. But you know, I'm using it as low flow shower head, so it's probably overworking this thing. I don't know, maybe not. You can buy these fittings right here. It allows you, again, these are set for 1/2 inch, And then I added the strainer on there as well. This is the inlet right here. You want to filter. It's just a mesh screen, you know, big stuff. Before it gets in the pump, you don't want to ruin the pump. And then it goes to 1/2 inch right here. Now what I did differently was, since I knew it was a low flow shower head, on the outlet I downsized it to a 3/8 hose. You can see right here, compared to the 1/2 inch hose right here. And everything underneath the vehicle is all 1/2 inch as well. The reason for that was it allowed me to cycle the water to the tank at 1/2 inch at its maximum flow rate, which would be 3 gallons per minute. And it allows it to you know, heat up the water and run as it's supposed to. But when I'm in the shower mode, I wanted a little bit lighter hose, and it was going to be low flow anyway, so there was no need to go to this 1/2 inch hose. But I plan on changing this to something a little softer. You can see how rigid this is. It doesn't really move around that well. So we'll be changing that out later. But one thing I also did was, at the top of this right here is an Allen head. I believe it's a 2 millimeter Allen head. And if you, I forgot, I gotta check the instructions, but you can screw this in or out to adjust the pressure. When I had this brand new, this thing worked perfectly, turned off on its own, but somehow it developed a leak somewhere and allowed the pump to, it never turned off. It never hit that pressure switch. So I adjusted it. I adjusted the pressure switch on here to where it would work with the pressure that it would need it to be to turn this thing off. So you can hear the pump's not on now. I don't know if you can hear it from back here. Wait till this vehicle passes. And like I said, it's on demand. Turn it on. You can see it's flowing. Still air in there somewhere, but I mean, it's still running water. It's hot. It used to flow a lot more, so I'm not sure. Maybe it didn't. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've used this. So turn off the water, and then the pump will build up enough. It'll turn itself off. By the time I even walk over here, it's already built up enough pressure. The pump's turned off. You can see it's turned off. So that's my onboard shower system. The last part of this will be right now the back end's all disconnected, so it's on recirculate mode, but I turned it off so it can't return. You can here it's on a pressure switch. As I turn this on, you can hear the pump kick on to allow water to flow. If I turn it off, it'll build pressure and you can hear the pump turn off. Now the beauty of this setup is, if this is cold water in here, it can aid in cooling your engine without having. It's the same thing as turning on the fans to heat it, the hot air inside the cab. But you know, during the summertime, it's, you know, your engine's running hot, you try and cool it off, you're probably going to be hot and you don't want a bunch of hot air blowing in your face as well. So with this, I can just turn this on, and essentially it's just going to pull heat from the engine and warm this tank up and help cool the engine without heating up the air inside the vehicle.